Hello friends, I am Ganandhar Sidhu. As you know that we have done several episodes about Osho. And with regard to those episodes, we got very interesting feedback. Two prominent things came out of those feedback. First is, I have been several times ambushed about the personal life of Osho. And the second thing is that about the relevance of 5,000 years old text. That is Vigyan, Bhairav, Tantra. The relevance of that text in the present day scenario. Now the first point first. As far as personal life of Osho is concerned, I want to say that I am not concerned. It doesn't matter for me. Because what matters to me is the wisdom, knowledge, the vastness of knowledge, the insight of Osho. I am concerned about these things. And as far as his insights, his knowledge is concerned, I am so impressed that even I put him in the league of the great modern thinkers like Friedrich Nietzsche, Foucault, D.T. Suzuki, Carl Gustav Jung, Heidegger. For me, he is a par excellence. And moreover, I feel that wisdom, this divine wisdom, it has its own entity, it has its own autonomous character, it has its own life, which is independent from the life of a person. Gulzar says that एक नूर की बूंद है जो सदियों से बहा करती है. So in this way, the divine wisdom is like a drop of nectar, which is flowing since the time more ancient than the Upanishads. For several thousand years, this divine wisdom is flowing, and it is passing through several persons, books, texts, and lot many of things. And I feel that it also passed through Osho. So I am confined to that drop of wisdom, which was flowing, which is flowing since the times of Upanishads. And moreover, I feel that even if there are flaws, then what's wrong with it? Flaws make us human. We are human beings because we are having flaws. If something is perfectly okay, it means that something is greatly wrong with that. If Osho has certain flaws, then nothing wrong. It makes human. In his book about creation, he says that we should be striving for the totality, the wholeness, where all goodness and badness, they are the same thing. In the same manner, if we appreciate one thing in one person, then we should also embrace the so-called flaws in that person. Because we have to accept a person in totality. We have to accept everything in totality, in wholeness. We can't be selective. And I am not selective about Osho. If there are flaws in him, then I embrace those flaws too. Here I remember a very short Zen story. According to it, some Zen master, they went to listen to the music of a great master. And that master, when he was performing, he was looking so flawless, so perfectionist. But towards the end, he committed one error. And all the Zen monks who were listening, they delighted. They delighted and said that at least we came to see the human face of that performance. So if there is anything which is flawless and totally perfection, there is certainly something seriously wrong. But I want to say that these things make the whole thing so natural. I'm not beyond my flaws. Now about the second thing, the relevance of that 5,000-year-old text in the present day scenario. Here I want to emphasize one thing, and I will keep emphasizing that thing in my several of the episodes. The thing is that now we are solely responsible for our soul. Because our education system, medical science, and even very interestingly psychology, they have abolished soul. They have termed soul as a unscientific phenomena. I came to know that in certain text of psychology, it is mentioned that since soul is not a scientifically proved, so it is not part of the syllabus of psychology. But I tell you very interesting thing. One is etymology. Etymology is the word origin. Do you know what is the word origin of psychology? It is psychology. Ology means study. Study of what? Of psyche. And psyche is what? Psyche is the Greek word equivalent to the soul. So if the psychology says that we are not going to accept soul, then they should change the name of the subject. Before discussing further, I want to say that please don't feel that I'm talking soul as a intellectual phenomena. After reading Osho and after reading several texts, I am able to convey what I feel about soul to some extent in a very simple language. The soul is the invisible part of our body, and body is the visible part of our soul. If you are trying to see soul as a separate organ in you, then you are mistaken. Soul is in every pore, every cell, every atom of our being. It is not a separate entity. But the thing is that we are living in this world where we have forgotten our being, our soul. We are more concerned with the symptoms, with the consequences, and not with the being. Heidegger, a renowned German scholar, I have already mentioned his names in previous episodes. He has done great work about the forgetfulness of our being, or forgetfulness of our soul. I give you one example that Alan Watts say that we say that this is my hand, this is my eyes, this is my face. We refer to our own being as if it is our slave. Why don't we say that I am alive in my hands, I am alive in my eyes? And Osho says that this Tantra wisdom, which is very much required in present day scenario, is confined to that thing. If we feel our eyes are seeing the outside world, then Tantra wisdom is not meant for you. But if you feel that your being is watching the outside world through eyes, if you consider eyes as your vehicle of your being, then this is the Tantra wisdom. We need to understand our being in this context, where our being is perceived in totality. Now the thing is that why the soul is required to be recognized and accepted? Because if we do not accept our being in totality, if our every atom, if our every pore, every cell is not acting in a unified manner, it means we are leading a disintegrated, schizophrenic and disruptive life, which is happening these days. We are not connected to our core, our being, our soul. That is why we are even alienated to the outside world and alienated to our own self. And because of that forgetfulness of our being, that even doctors, some of the psychologists, they are taking antidepressant pills. Because you cannot live life by ignoring your soul. What your being is conveying to you, if you don't listen to it, you are living a very partial, superficial and artificial life. A life which is not meant for you, but which is conditionally told to live. And Vigyan Bhairav Tantra is the one book which can connect you to your being. This is the importance of this book. Now this soulless life, it is being depicted in several of symptoms of sickness that is prevailing in our society, like there is a brigade of sleepless persons, depression, stress, that they have reached the level of epidemic, a silent epidemic. The breathing techniques and other techniques that Shiva has mentioned in this text, they have the capacity to connect you to your core, and that can lead to the fulfilled life, because you will be aware about your soul and about your core. It will be like a, here I remember the title of one book written by Confucius, that is unwobbling pivot. Wobbling is when the tire gets disturbed of a vehicle, tire of a vehicle, then it wobbles. And the title of the book is Unwobbling Pivot, the pivot that doesn't move. Your life will become that stable because you will be fixed, you will be centered at your core. Now, another thing that some people suggested that it looks very mythological. Here I want to say that actually we don't understand the real value of mythology. Mythology is highly symbolic, divine allegory, which conveys the meanings which are too deep in our psychology, real psychology. Even Sigmund Freud, C.G. Jung, they took many of their concepts of psychology from the mythology. Like Oedipus complex, that is taken from the Greek mythology. And C.G. Jung, he has done a great work on mythology, psychology of mythology. His first book, Symbols of Transformation, that is a masterpiece of mythology. Even I can do a separate episode on mythology. Now from C.G. Jung, very interestingly, from C.G. Jung, Joseph Campbell, he learned many of things. Then he wrote one book, very important book, that is Hero with Thousand Faces. That is about the mythologies of the different parts of the world. Now from that book, Hero with the Thousand Faces, you know which movie was made? Star Wars. And after Star Wars, the mythology based movies, these are billion, trillion dollar business. Superman, Spider-Man, Ant-Man, even Avengers, they are based on the themes of the mythology of the whole world. Very famous villain of Avengers movie, that is Thanos. It is derived from the Greek mythological character or god of death, Thanatos. Only T has been made silent. Thanos and Thanatos. In Avengers, Thanos is actually, he is addicted to death. He is a kind of a god of death. And in Avengers, they show even other characters like Loki. Loki is a trickster god of the European mythologies. So these mythology, these are not insignificant thing. Though psychology of this day is not recognizing the importance of mythology, you will not find any chapter of mythology in the books of the psychology. In doubt, then please approach us. We are always open to the queries, feedback, any complaints or the suggestions for improvement, because we are really concerned about growth. With these words, I conclude this episode here. Thank you.